Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another reloading chat. And let's talk a little bit about the Olympics. I did have some people ask me already, what do I think? Do I think this is going to be dangerous? Do I think we should expect terrorist attacks at these Olympics? Well, part of that's going to be, I'm going to hope. Let's put positive thoughts and energy into this. Not that that stops bullets or bombs as a general rule. But when there's nothing else you can do, positive thoughts are better than nothing, I suppose. So I'm going to hope, optimistically, that we're not going to have any problems. I think we did wise by keeping the Olympics out of Europe this time. I think we got lucky in 2012, but as of right now, with the overwhelming massive number of ISIS and lone wolf attacks we have happening in Europe right now, every few days we have a new one, that had the Olympics been planned anywhere in Europe this year, instead of Rio de Janeiro, we would be in trouble. I think we would have already seen the first explosion. Europe has really screwed itself here on this one, and hopefully they can dig themselves back out of this problem they're in without America coming back in to bail them out again. Because if Trump doesn't get elected, I can assure you guys that Hillary, who is already being bought and paid for by the Saudis, isn't going to come help you guys this time. I would recommend that you just worry about bailing yourself out at that point. But unless Trump gets elected, you guys are going to be on your own. So hopefully you guys can resolve your problems. But in the meantime, yeah, they're in Rio de Janeiro. So that is pretty far from any massive influx of refugees that are going to be heavily infiltrated by terrorist cells and ISIS cells. So we're in luck there. There's not going to be as many numbers, much lower risk in terms of organizing something. So hopefully that's going to be enough to keep all these athletes safe, because guys, the Olympics is, such an important symbol of international sportsmanship that when it gets attacked for any reason, for political reasons, it should be considered devastating to the world. That's not just a blow to one culture. That is an insult to the entire world, to international relations, to sportsmanship. It's a very powerful negative symbol when that happens, and it has happened before, and it has happened with the Israelis before. Islamist extremist interests have killed Israeli athletes in the past at the Olympics, unfortunately. Not that Mossad didn't do something about it in revenge, but it's kind of like after the fact. It doesn't fix the problem ahead of time. And the Israelis are apparently already having some problems. If you guys read some stories on that, there have been stories circulating about the Israeli athletes. The delegates there thought it would be a good idea to put them on the same bus with athletes from an Islamic country, and they made a big fuss about it, and it almost got pretty bad. And so why anyone would think that that would be acceptable, if that wouldn't lead to potential violence, would only be people who either intentionally wanted to see violence, which I hope is not the case, or they're just that ignorant as to world events. But yeah, I would be very concerned of things like that when groups like that who are hated by people who may have ties to terrorism, and I'm not even saying those athletes do, because they probably don't. But the sentiment from those countries is one of hatred and violence towards another country. Putting them in close proximity on the same bus is either moronic or intentionally trying to instigate violence. It's just stupid. And I really hate to see something like that happen. Hopefully we don't have any more incidents like that, because we really don't need to see a repeat of what happened before, where a whole Israeli team was killed by terrorists at the Olympics. You know, and again, people want to talk about racism in the world. I mean, you talk about racism and hatred towards a group. How about the Israelis? Look how much sentiment there is of people who honestly believe that the Israelis are somehow racist and terrorizing other people when they're hated by all of their surrounding countries and have been having to fight to exist for generations. Yet the very same ethnicity and race and religion of people that surround them that want to kill them, they freely allow to have the same rights in their country, allow them to hold positions of power, allow them to be officers in their own military. There are actually in Israel people of Palestinian ancestry who are in fact Muslims who are officers in the Israeli military, who hold elected positions of power in Israel. Yet their neighboring countries, and if Israeli were to go into them, they will be murdered. And yet, you know, they're the ones that are somehow branded by many countries, including more into the West now, as being these evil racists, when they're just about the single most hated people on earth. And in their own country, they're actually quite tolerant. Israel is actually one of the most tolerant countries on earth of other religions, of other ethnicities, of even other beliefs. They have complete freedom of religion in their country. I mean, they have complete equality of the sexes. It's one of the least bigoted nations on earth, yet due to other hatred and discrimination against this group, they actually are being successfully branded as like racist somehow. So you talk about a group that's hated and that we need to be concerned about them being attacked at the Olympics. There you go. And it's just very frustrating when you have a group that is just so well known for being treated that way, who they're putting them in, trying to put them on the same bus with people who they know there's a very high chance might hate them as a whole nation, who might not actually be terrorists, but they hold that same prejudice. I mean, guys, that's just ridiculous. Again, that's just asking for trouble. So I'm hoping that we don't have any real problems, though. When you see things like that happen, it lets me know that the people in charge might actually be ignorant, though, and it's a good thing that it is occurring in a place so far from all the strife and all the problems, that it's nowhere near the Middle East, that it's nowhere near Europe right now, if the people running it are going to be that ignorant. Because otherwise, we could have a real tragedy on our hands. And not just for that one instance, it could be all sorts of other instances. If they're that clueless about world events, that they would make such a careless mistake. Their security and planning is probably not very up to par. So it's a good thing that this is happening so far from everything, because otherwise this could just be devastating. I don't know though, guys. Let's see what happens. The Olympics are still going to be running for a while. I'm going to cross my fingers and hope with all the events going on in the world that we don't have any tragedies, that we don't have any terrorist attacks, and that we will see better sportsmanship than was displayed there on the bus already. And it would be nice if some of those who tried to cause problems were banned for poor sportsmanlike behavior. But I'm not going to count on that happening. The Olympics seems more concerned with doping and drugs these days than it does actual sportsmanlike behavior and expecting athletes to behave themselves. So let's just wait and see what happens, and let's hope for the best. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.